live with your mom because she's poor? No way. I'll go only after she's dead."
As soon as I brought up the idea of living with my mom, my husband blurted out those words. I was so taken aback by his rejection that I couldn't say anything more. But 6 months later, I would throw those words right back at him. He would regret his refusal, his face pale with shock. My name is Eva. I'm 45 years old. I met my husband, Nathan, who's 2 years older than me, while working as a kitchen staff member at a hotel. At that time, he was front desk staff, but now he's a concierge. He was quite handsome, fluent in languages, and really cool. After we got married, our daughter Heather was born, and I quit my job. Once Heather started elementary school, I began working part-time in the deli section of a local supermarket. We always dreamed of owning a home, but remained stuck in a rental apartment as time passed. We could have afforded a house if we had really tried, but we were comfortable where we were and ended up staying there for many years. Nathan wasn't keen on buying a house either. Maybe it was because we both had the idea of eventually moving in with our parents. Both of us being only children, we vaguely thought we'd end up living in one of our parents' homes. But we didn't get along great with our in-laws, so we never really discussed it in detail. My parents' house is about a 30-minute drive away, in a quiet, natural area. My father, who ran a confectionery shop, passed away 3 years ago, and we closed the shop then. My mother, in her 20s, lives alone and gets by on her pension. I used to visit her regularly, with Heather, but since she became a busy high school student with clubs and part-time jobs, we haven't been able to go together recently. I also increased my part-time hours to save for her education, so I haven't been able to visit my mom for a few months. Still, my mom is a bright and active woman involved in hobbies and volunteer work. She's been healthy and hasn't really been sick, so I guess I wasn't too worried. But lately, I've been concerned because she hasn't contacted me. She used to send photos of her hiking trips and flower arrangement classes, which reassured me she was doing well, but that stopped. My emails went unanswered, and phone calls wouldn't go through. Something was wrong. After finishing my part-time job, I drove to her house. Her house, where I was born, is old, built by my father. Although the shop had been renovated a few times, the living space was mostly untouched, repaired only when absolutely necessary. As I parked in the driveway at dusk, I noticed it was dark inside. No lights on. Was my mom not home? She usually went out, but was almost always back by the afternoon. I pressed the doorbell, but there was no response. No sound of the chime inside. Maybe it was broken? "Mom, I'm opening the door." I took out my key and opened the door. Entering the house, I was startled. Yikes! In the dim light, I saw a shadowy figure and involuntarily cried out. Startled by my voice, the figure turned around. "Eva? Mom?" As I approached the table where my mom was, I saw her holding a small sandwich in the dark. "Mom, what's going on?" "Oh, sorry. I was just having my dinner." There was nothing else on the table, just that one small sandwich. I mean, why are you sitting in the dark? I thought nobody was home. "Oh,
Yes, right.
She seemed unlike her usual vibrant self, almost lifeless. I tried to contact you, but couldn't reach you by mail or phone.
The electricity was cut off, so I couldn't charge anything. Sorry.
Electricity cut off? Are you that short on money?
Well, we were self-employed and the pension isn't much.
To the point where you can't pay for electricity? We were never wealthy, but I didn't think we were that bad off. My parents paid for my vocational school and helped when I got married. They even spent generously on Heather. I felt ashamed for not knowing my mom's situation and for neglecting her. I took the bill from her and paid the electricity bill. I also bought food for the two of us. It would take a while for the power to come back, so I decided we'd have a dinner together. I called home, and Heather answered. I'm at Grandma's. There's a bit of a problem, so I'll be late coming back. Okay, I'll make something for dinner. Thanks. That would be a great help. She had grown into a good kid, despite a rebellious phase in middle school. Is your dad back yet? No, not yet. He's been coming home late, a lot lately. Leaving the house matters to Heather, I sat down to dinner with my mom, lit by an emergency lantern. In the lantern light, she looked thin and pale, much older than before, although it might have just been the dim light. Mom, are you feeling okay?
I've been a bit off lately. Maybe it's my age.
She smiled weakly, but seemed to enjoy the meal. Sorry, it's just supermarket food.
No, it's been a while since I've had a full meal.
What? Why are you so short on money?
I had some expenses.
Expenses? Big expenses can come up just from living, especially in an old house like ours. Things break and need repair, and I assumed that was where her money was going. Mom, if you're struggling with money, why don't we live together? I just said it naturally. Living apart, I can't keep an eye on her, but if we live together, we can share meals, and I can help with any repairs that are needed. But she said,
It's okay. My fixed deposit will mature soon. I'll manage somehow. Besides, what would Nathan say?
Indeed, I couldn't imagine my husband agreeing to it. He would definitely balk at spending even a penny on the repairs of an old house. Simply put, he's stingy. Extremely so. He also didn't get along with my father. Dad had a craftsman spirit and high pride, so they often clashed. That's why he hardly ever visited my parents' home. He'd probably hate the idea of living with my mom now. Still, I couldn't leave her alone in this state, so I decided to bring it up with him. But...
Live with your mom? Because she's poor? No way. I'll go only after she's dead.
I expected him to oppose living together. But to say something like that? If this goes on, she really might die.
Well, I'll consider going then.
What? I never thought he could be so cold. And when I told him I paid my mom's electricity bill, he got furious.
You paid her electricity bill? Why should we have to pay for that?
He's extremely particular about money, probably influenced by the way he was raised. His parents would spend on themselves, but never for others. They seemed to be living beyond their means, just for show. Nathan had the same tendencies. If I had realized this earlier, I might have reconsidered marrying him. I didn't see it before we married. I remember, he was always well dressed, but he never treated me to a meal during our dates. And the gifts he gave for birthdays or Christmas were something a kid could afford with their allowance. It's not that these things are bad, but it always left me feeling uneasy. So it's typical of him to get angry about paying for my mother's electricity bill. But how can I just leave my struggling mom alone?
Why do we have to take care of her?
What? Are you telling me I can't help my own mother? I owe her for raising me, and we should do some filial duties, right?
She didn't raise me.
Are you being serious? My parents helped us when we got married and when Heather was born. Have you forgotten their kindness? Your parents never helped us.
I never asked for their help. If they couldn't afford it, they shouldn't have done it. It's their own fault if they can't manage their finances.
You actually think that way about my parents?
Anyway, it's got nothing to do with me.
There's no use arguing with someone like him. Even though I knew it was futile, my frustration didn't go away. As always, my daughter was the one who could lift my spirits. She had been difficult during her teenage years, but now she's a great person to talk to. Mom, I feel bad for Grandma. She must have overheard my conversation with Nathan. When he left the living room, she came in and said, "Use my part-time money. Let's help her." I hugged her without thinking. "Thanks, sweetie, but it's okay. I have some savings, so we'll manage." You have savings? Otherwise, your dad would spend it all. He is generous with himself, isn't he? Laughing together with her made me feel a bit better. Plus, Grandma said her deposit is maturing soon. It's probably not much, but at the time I thought that way. Little did I know how well she had managed her finances.
Eva, help me.
It was 6 months later that Nathan came to me pleading. I had been visiting my mom regularly and helping her financially, and she was starting to recover. There was a reason why she had started to struggle with money, and it involved my husband. What's up?
My parents are about to go bankrupt.
I thought they were in deep debt. Their house and car never seemed to fit their means.
I have to do something.
Then, do something.
How can I?
Why not?
Where would I get that kind of money?
You have personal savings, right? You barely give me any of your salary for living expenses, so I've been managing with my part-time income. You're saving the rest, aren't you?
Well, it's just... Please, help me.
You want our family to shoulder your parents' debts? Remember how angry you got when I paid my mom's electricity bill?
I was wrong about that. Please, I'm begging you. Let's live with my parents.
What? I'll just return your words to you.
Huh?
I'm just giving you back the words you said to me.
What? Did I say something?
What? You don't remember? I haven't forgotten a single word.
So, what did I...
Live with your mom because she's poor? No way. I'll go only after she's dead.
What?
That's what you said.
Well,
Do you remember now?
No,
You said it was her fault that she couldn't manage her finances. Why don't you go live with your parents alone?
And what will you do?
I'm going to live with Heather at my mom's place.
What?
I'm saying I'll live with my mom.
Are we going to live separately?
Of course. You didn't help when my mom was in trouble. I have no intention of helping your parents. Besides, I plan to dissolve our marriage.
What?
I presented him with the divorce papers I had prepared.
Why?
Why don't you ask yourself?
Ugh.
Just then, Heather came in. Dad, this came for you. He turned pale as he saw the envelope in her hand and tried to snatch it back. She deftly dodged his attempt, and he stumbled and fell.
Ouch. Did you read this?
I took the envelope from her and pulled out the documents inside. Sorry, but I opened it. This is a notice from the credit company about your loan, right? What did you need to borrow money for so badly?
It was necessary.
Necessary for what? Let me guess. You gambled it all away, didn't you?
How did you...
Heather saw you entering a casino several times on her way back from her part-time job.
What?
Not just that. Your computer history is full of online casinos and horse racing sites.
Don't use my computer without permission.
I needed it for research. You won't buy me one.
You work, don't you?
I don't make enough to buy a computer. I'm even buying what I need for school myself. We're living mostly on Mom's part-time income because you don't contribute. I couldn't ask Mom to buy me a computer. And to think you have been gambling away your money.
Heather.
Defeated by his daughter's words, his shoulders slumped. We both worked jobs without regular weekends, so we rarely had the same days off. He must have thought his gambling went unnoticed, but our daughter was one step ahead. She hadn't just stumbled upon his casino visits or computer history. She had been suspicious and investigated. His gambling addiction wasn't a recent development. When I checked his bank account, I saw his salary would be withdrawn almost immediately after deposit, leaving no balance. No wonder you weren't enthusiastic about buying a home. You can't get a loan with your own debts, let alone pay off your parents. But I don't want your parents borrowing money from my mother because you're broke.
What?
Your parents borrowed money from my mom. That's why she was struggling. They kept borrowing, saying your mom was sick and needed treatment. They told her not to tell us because it would worry us. My mom felt sorry for them and lent them money, planning to keep it secret. But when I said I was divorcing you and moving back home, she told me.
What?
Don't worry. The illness was a lie. They've borrowed so much they can't borrow from friends or relatives anymore and ended up going to my mom. When she went to ask for repayment, she was surprised to see your mom perfectly healthy. While they were pushing my mom into hardship, they continued living comfortably. It's unbelievable. I couldn't be part of such a family anymore, so I filed for divorce. I moved back to my mom's house with Heather. Nathan eventually moved out of our apartment and went back to his parents, taking up extra jobs alongside his main work to pay off his debts. After living beyond their means for so long, they must be struggling with a simpler lifestyle. As for my mother's fixed deposit, it matured. I was surprised at how much she had saved. Mom, you managed the money so well.
I knew the pension wouldn't be enough and I didn't want to be a burden. I saved desperately. I thought Dad would be able to work longer, so that was a miscalculation.
No, you did great.
Thank you. We should be okay for a while. This money is yours to use freely.
She handed me the passbook. I can't take advantage of my mom, but may I borrow some? I had made a decision. When I moved back home, I quit my job. But life goes on, and there are expenses, especially with Heather's education. I decided to renovate my dad's confectionery shop. I have a cooking license, and I used my experience from working in the supermarket deli to open a delicatessen. Initially, only a few locals and regulars of my dad's shop came, but gradually more customers came. The business did well, and it got busier. My mom and daughter helped sometimes. My mom fit right in as if it had always been her shop, which in a way it was. She enjoyed working, reminiscent of the past. I never thought I would take over my dad's shop. I can't make sweets like him, but I plan to offer deli items and sweets. It's nice to have a delicatessen like that, isn't it?